In this video, I'll share with you the top video settings on your Galaxy S23 Ultra to get the absolute best results somehow possible that look like this. Welcome back to the channel. In case you're new here, welcome. My name is Julian. I'm the creator of Smartphone Filmmaking Pro, and on this channel we talk about making better videos with your smartphone. We share tips and tricks on how you can get the most out of your smartphone camera. We review the latest and greatest gear. So overall, if that sounds interesting to you, you might consider hitting that subscribe button. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra is a fantastic smartphone and it can capture amazing videos if you know how you can use it to its fullest potential. Something that I was just almost shocked when I got this. This is a smartphone that has the capability of shooting an 8K video, which is massive. 8K is 4 times bigger than full HD. And by default, if you start capturing videos with your S23 Ultra, it is set to only 1080p, which is just absolutely crazy in my opinion. But in this video, I'll walk you through the camera app and I'll share the settings that I would recommend that you should be using for the best quality somehow possible. Alright, so this is what the native camera app on the S23 Ultra looks like, and I'm already inside of the video mode. And as you can see, you have a bunch of different options, and I'll just walk you through them and share a bit of what I'm using and what I would be recommending. So first of all, I have already mentioned that by default, the S23 Ultra is set to 1080p, which you can see here at the top. You can see FHD at 30, so we just tap on that, and by tapping on it you can see that you have a bunch of different options. You could go to FHD 60, UHD 30, which is basically 4K, UHD 60, and then you could also switch over to 8K. And for most scenarios, I would recommend that you film in 4K because this is just the industry standard. Your file sizes won't be as massive, and overall for most scenarios, I think that this will be the way to go. So I'll change that now to UHD 60. For example. This is what I have been using for my video in Vienna, and as you saw, this looks pretty nice. You can also film in 8K, just notice that you will be limited to only the 1x lens and you will only be limited to 30 frames per second max. So 8K is definitely nice to have and you can make certain shots in 8K, and that's also what I did, but I would not recommend that you film everything all the time in 8K. Also, the workflow with 8K will not be as nice compared to just shooting in 4K. So just keep that in mind. Next to that, you can change the aspect ratio. I like to always keep that at 9:16 because, you know, there's just no reason to switch that over to anything else in my opinion. Next to that, you have a little shaky hand, and this is basically a super smooth mode. So if you tap on that, you can see super steady is on, and this now enhances the stabilization and it makes your videos even smoother than they already are. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this super steady mode because it just crops in and you will lose some quality. And I think the internal stabilization of the S23 Ultra already is really, really good. So in my opinion, unless you're filming some, I don't know, some crazy rides through the desert or whatever, I would not use that. So I'm just, just always turning that off. Next to that, you can turn on and off your flashlight. To be honest, I'm actually never using the flashlight for my video purposes because this is just a very low quality light. And next to that, you can go into your settings. You can see at the bottom, you can change between the different lenses. And that's something that is absolutely amazing. The 10x lens, in my opinion, is just a complete game changer in my opinion, because this is just something that you have not seen on any other smartphone before. And the quality and the stabilization is surprisingly good in my opinion. And next to that, Samsung has a feature that is called auto framing, which is something that I would always turn off because, I want to choose myself how I want to frame my shot, and I do not want any AI technology or whatever this technology is called to choose for me like how I'm framing my shots. So yeah, always turn these off and just decide for yourself like how you want to frame your shots to get the most appealing looking images. At the top left, you do have a settings icon. If we tap on that, you can just scroll down until you are at the video features. You have a feature that is called auto FPS, which is also something that I would always turn off because I want to choose myself like how I want to capture my videos. if I'm shooting them in 24, 30 or 60 frames per second, I want to have full control because I know what's best. The video stabilization is nice to have. I would leave that on, and if we tap onto advanced video options, you can see you have high bitrate videos, so we want to get some good looking videos, so I have turned that on. And below that you have the HDR10+ video option, and in my opinion it just depends. The video in Vienna that you might have seen, I shot this with the HDR10+ mode turned off, so this was not filmed in HDR, and I think the colors and overall the video turned out great. When you enable the HDR10+ feature, you will get more dynamic range, more vibrant looking colors and more contrast overall, and the image might look better but also might not. And something that's definitely going to happen, you will have a more taxing workflow if you want to share the video with anyone else that does not have, you know, an HDR screen like you have here on the Samsung. So I would say just try out both and see what workflow works best for you and what image you prefer more, but for now actually I have turned that off. Below that you have two more options. You have the zoom in mic. I have turned that on now, but to be honest this doesn't really matter, because if I want to capture some nice sounding audio with my S23 Ultra, then I will be using an external microphone anyway, so this doesn't really matter, and the 360 audio recording also doesn't really matter for me. If we're going back to the rest of the settings, you can see we have a bunch of more options. The tracking autofocus, I think that's a very nice option, because if I tap onto this plant right here, you can see that this tracks automatically and it stays in focus no matter what I'm doing. So I think this is a nice feature. I have turned that on. Below that you can see the grid lines. I also always have turned that on because this is just massively helpful for framing my shots. You have seen before that there is an auto framing feature of the S23 Ultra, but I like to frame the shots myself, so I like to have these grids on the screen. I don't want any location tags. The shooting methods, you know, I also have all of them turned off. They might be helpful for you, but for me, I don't really need them. Settings to keep, and there basically you can just dial in like what the phone should remember. I turn all of them on, and below that then we have the vibration feedback, and this basically comes down to personal preference. So these are basically the settings that I was using for my video in Vienna. And if you know Android phones, you know that there is a Pro video mode built into these smartphones, and you can access them by just swiping over to more, and then you can see there you have the Pro video mode. And if we access that right now, you can see you can dial in your ISO, you can dial in the shutter speed, you can dial in the white balance, the focus, whatever. So there you have a bunch of different options. And if you truly want to get the most out of your smartphones, then this will definitely be the way to go. But to get the best results possible, you will need to learn what these different dials actually mean, because, you know, shooting with a shutter speed of 1/20th of a second might, you know, create a brighter image, but the results that you will get, they will not look anywhere near as good as you want them to look like. So it's just very important to actually learn those skills, and that's the reason why we have created Smartphone Filmmaking Pro in the first place. If you would like to learn how you can get the most out of your smartphone, then click the first link below that like button. That will bring you to our totally free webinar where I'm sharing the top 5 secrets to shooting cinematic videos with your smartphone. It's totally for free. It's the first link down below. You can check it out right now. In case you have not seen the cinematic video that I shot with the S23 Ultra and these settings that I have just mentioned, then make sure to click this video over there, because there I'm walking you step by step on how I made this epic looking video.